Hello there, I'm MountPain27 and this is Dean of Doom, the show we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun. I've got a double feature lined up for you guys today. It's 2019's Rowdy Rudy's Revenge and 2020's Rowdy Rudy II Powertrip, both the brainchildren of the one and only Doomkid. Rowdy Rudy Sr is a 10-map, vanilla-compatible partial conversion chock full of customized monsters, textures, and sound effects. While Rowdy Rudy's Revenge was a solo effort from Doomkid, Rowdy Rudy II came together in the form of a community project led by Doomkid, boasting double the maps, a jacked-up weapon selection, and an even beefier enemy roster than its predecessor. The series' protagonist is the only black Doomguy I've come across on Doomworld. It's a small change, but it's one of the most creative ways I've seen a mapper turn the status bar into his calling card. Both Rudy wads also come with surprisingly detailed stories that borrow from action flicks of the 80s and 90s and are delivered with the kind of swagger id Software would have appreciated back in the day. So here's how the show works. Every map gets one grade for quality and one for difficulty. On the quality side, the grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. Difficulty grades go from X to E. X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, I probably won't have the same ideas about what makes a great level as you do, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom, so let's do so. Before we start, the rules are we play on Ultraviolence, or in this case, Expert, and must pistol start each level. I need to play the wad twice before reviewing it, saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom, with compatibility set to strict. Now, to the wads. Map 1, Hidden Compound. First of all, there are a lot of new sights and sounds to take in here. Zombie men are now green-blooded cultists, Spectre imps replace regular Spectres, and you'll meet the first of two chain gunner varieties here. The weaker gray types won't drop guns for you, unfortunately. Rifle starters do not get a complimentary 50 bullets in this wad, so try out the Berserk Bayonet. It's a peach. The rifle fires 2 rounds at a time with perfect accuracy, which comes in handy for sniping, but drains your ammo faster than you'd expect. The Doom 64 SFX come up big in this wad, giving the rifle and shotgun extra oomph. All this talk of custom content, we've barely dipped our toes into the map itself. Hidden Compound is no big deal. You can knock it down in 4 minutes tops. Rowdy Rudy's Revenge as a whole adopts a bare bones aesthetic, sometimes even verging on primitive, but it's clearly an artistic choice and not the work of an amateur. Grade C+, difficulty D-. Map 2, Arbitrary Base. As its title implies, Arbitrary Base doesn't take itself too seriously, giving you ample rifle ammo to cut through its sparse hit scanners, imps, and blind pinkies. There's a weird one-time teleporter that drops you into the shit the first time you enter the nukage silo room, but nothing else should give you trouble. Note that Doomkid compensates for the rifle's ammo consumption with supersized bullet pickups, 10 for clips, 100 for boxes. The last room introduces the Plasma Guys, who replace Arachnotrons, and the Toxicaka Demon, who vomits Baron projectiles. You'll probably scoff at these guys now and wish you hadn't later. Grade B-, difficulty D-. Map 3, The Slime Trail. I'm not a mapper, but I got the joke. The Slime Trail takes Rowdy Rudy out of its tutorial phase. The mandatory nukage traversal, increased hit scanner presence, and a few key monster introductions make this not a complete cakewalk. You'll acquire a Doom 64 chain gun just in time to deal with the wad's first Revenants and meet the RPG zombies. May they all burn in hell. I think Revenant projectiles are harder to track in the Rowdy Rudy wads. There's some kind of strobing effect on them that throws me for a loop. Also, I'm not sure why this red door is unmarked and looks like a wall. All part of the retro aesthetic, I guess. The explosive red key fight is a blast. Just a huge mob of tuned up zombies and imps to tee off on with your new chain gun. Once again, the new sound effects make the weapon feel more powerful than usual. Grade B, difficulty D+. Map 4, The Filter. With a mere 57 monsters, the filter hits about as hard as a wiffle ball. Doomkid doesn't hold back on guns and ammo, and none of the fights are remotely overwhelming. It's never a good idea to fool around with RPG troopers, though. They take an alarming amount of damage, and it's best not to let them pump out missiles. Don't get singed by the wad's first flame caco. He hurls fireballs from afar, and can turn you into baked Alaska up close. I appreciate the nuance that went into the visuals here. The soul sphere you get by the contaminated waterfall is a particularly nice touch. Grade B, difficulty D. Map 5, Forgotten Installation. Forgotten Installation is Rowdy Rudy's midterm exam, a large-scale infiltration mission that pits you against every enemy type you've seen so far and more. The Toxicacos and Plasma Guys are part of the common roster now, and to compensate you get an early plasma rifle, which belches crimson bolts and sports a gutsy sound replacement. Cells will seem abundant in the beginning, but it's pretty easy to buzz through your stash, so try to use it sparingly. Well, as sparingly as you can. Doomkid seems to have calibrated the ammo balance around fights that all but mandate plasma usage. The red key gives you access to the final fight, an intimidating shootout with Plasma Guys, RPG troopers, cultists, and a Mechubus. Some of these goons have an irritating habit of teleporting behind you, and it can be hard to hear them over the sound of your own gunfire. If you're light on munitions, this fight will have you biting your nails down to the nubs. Note that I came into this fight well prepared and exited with 15 shotgun shells, a box of bullets, and a lucky rocket. Grade B, difficulty C+. Map 6, Deadly Depression. This depression isn't quite as deadly as the clinical kind. The start contains more enemies than you can take with single-digit shotgun shells and no stronger weapons, so slip outside, pirouette between projectiles, grab a rocket launcher and chain gun, and get some infighting going. You'll want to save rockets for this part. The plasma troopers and RPG zombies are a real nuisance in wide open areas, something Doomkid will take great advantage of in the next few maps. The Archvile makes his debut here, and right before the exit, a flame caca will try to surprise you. Despite stocking half as many enemies as Map 5, Deadly Depression manages to be a bit nastier. Grade B-, difficulty C+. Map 7, Smells Like Sulfur. With its fiery sky, burnt-out scenery, and punishing action, Smells Like Sulfur is a dramatic departure from the toxic tech bases of Act 1. Right out of the gate, you've got an outfit of chain gunners, shotgunners, and dehacked zombies sniping you, imps and fuzzy imps chucking fireballs in the cheap seats, and a pair of tangerines moving in with unrighteous intention. This map is the most aggravating plasma guy placements in the WoD by far. With their lazy rate of fire, these sturdy bastards are easy to overlook, but they have a knack for dawdling at the edges of fights and clipping you from afar. If you haven't nabbed the secret blue key before you take the elevator up to the Archvile, you're gambling with your life, because you won't be able to backtrack or find the secret BFG. The mandatory super lava leap at the end is a good metaphor for this whole level. It's rude and unavoidably painful. Grade C, difficulty B. Map 8, Creeping Descent. This is the signature map of Rowdy Rudy's Revenge, a canny blend of Toxic Sludgescape and Sandy Peterson's Inferno. It's Doomkid's most successful integration of his dehacked monsters into the flow of combat. The hallways are loaded with hit scanners and the traps are short-fused. Remember, only fools rush in. Let this teleporting revenant scare you up the stairs and you'll run smack into a shitstorm of Hell Knights, Flame Cacos, Revenants, and assorted, zombified military personnel. Make sure to circle back for the BFG after you approach the blue door. It's a must-have in this level. Get your mitts on the red key to initiate a tango with 2 Archviles and a Cyberdemon. This fight can go lethally awry depending on how the 3 of them teleport. The best draw is if the Vials stay put and the Cyberdemon decides to go skinny dipping in the nukage. Speaking of which, I have no idea what Rad Suits ever did to Doomkid, but he withholds them unnecessarily in the later Rudy levels. The last room is a hoot, a slew of fodder, some Archviles, and a Cyberdemon sharing a cage with some hellish nobility. For whatever reason, it's pretty common for the Barons to scratch their boss to death if you leave them alone. Creeping Descent is a base hit. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 9, Hell's Doorstep. The one level in Rowdy Rudy's Revenge I genuinely dislike. Hell's Doorstep is downbeat and unforgiving. Don't squander your medical supplies because Doomkid expects a lot out of the player in those frantic first 5 minutes. This yellow key trap is especially dire, considering you don't have a chain gun, super shotgun, or plasma rifle yet. Just do your best. The map is jammed with hit scanners, and when I say jammed, I mean Doomkid is already pretty fond of hit scanners, and this map exceeds his typical quota. The secret BFG is essential if you want to get through the final fight without a headache. That is, assuming all the floating clementines and zombie troopers haven't already given you one. On a lighter note, Rudy's custom textures thrive here. They're just the right amount of rugged to sell the retro look, if that's your thing. Grade D+, difficulty B+. Map 10, Satan's Watchful Eye. One more measly hellkeep stands between Rudy and Retribution. Don't be afraid to speed through this one, you'll get a plasma rifle right away and mostly stay stacked with cells so long as you make them count. After a spirited shootout in the red key room, raise the platforms to a chamber full of guts and pyromaniacs. This is probably the scariest Archvile in the WoD, so don't waste time frying him. The boss fight with Satan's Fire Blue Eye is a nice blend of old-fashioned RNG reliance and more elegant modern solutions. You need to traverse a short obstacle course of elevators, switches, monster spawns, and damaging floors to reach a switch which finally unveils the perfect Icon of Sin sniping spot. Clear the stragglers below with the BFG, and pump rockets into Lucifer's pupil to seal the deal on Rowdy Rudy's Revenge. Grade B, difficulty B. Before we can plunge into Rowdy Rudy II, I have to talk about the new weapon roster. There's a lot to go over. For starters, Rudy's done with the bayonet. When you're out of ammo, he ditches his gloves and pounds monsters into pulp with both fists. Rowdy Rudy II's pistol replacement is one of the best of all time, a perfectly accurate assault rifle preloaded with 150 rounds, a far cry from Rudy I's ammo anorexia. Ideal for sniping and suppressing low to mid-tier foes, it keeps the 2 key in play for most of a pistol-started Powertrip playthrough. The auto shotgun decimates groups of chaff enemies lickety-split, and it's my go-to for stun-locking anything tougher than a pinky. The chain gun, super shotgun, and and rocket launcher all get increased rates of fire, and the plasma rifle no longer has recoil. The Alpha BFG allegedly unleashes twice its typical number of tracers with each fiery blast, though in my experience I can't say it functions all that differently from its usual self. Probably the biggest game changer of all is Rudy's new and improved weapon swap speed. It's lightning fast and you don't need any Praetor suit tokens to unlock it. Imagine that. With his massively upgraded attributes and arsenal, Rudy 2.0 is up there with the most powerful Doomguys of all time. Now, let's see what he can do. Map 1, Storming the Bayside Base. Grab your backpack and leave the sleeping bag. You're not going to need it. Storming the Bayside Base is a relaxing test drive of Rudy revamped set against a scenic, vanilla-compatible seaside. A host of familiar former humans await you, joined by the fearsome Psycho Imps. More than twice as hardy as their brown brethren, these fleet-footed fiends hurl pairs of plasma bolts, significantly outclassing the guys in green. The rest of the cast won't stand a chance against the assault rifle. Picking off perched enemies with it is especially satisfying. Important to remember but easy to forget, every former human in this WAD is tougher than the standard Doom 2 shotgunner. This secret lets you demo invulnerability and Rowdy Rudy at the same time. Powertrip indeed. Storming the Bayside Base is miles better than the first game's opener. It's one of my favorite pick up and play maps in the whole series. Grade A-, difficulty D-. Map 2, Initial Hurdles. Defend your health stack at all costs, because you only get 1 medikit and 4 health bonuses to patch up in this entire map. American McGee called, he wants his sadism back. Prioritize hit scanners and don't be afraid to lean on the auto shotgun. It can Swiss cheese a toxic cacodemon in 3 seconds flat. Filling out the ranks are the Revenant, the Blood Demon, or Bloody, and the last 2 out of 6 humanoid enemy types in this WAD. The Flamethrower Guy and the RPG Zombie, or Rocket Man, or whatever. This teleporting chain gunner trap at the end sticks in my craw, as does the slightly mistranslated and unfitting use of going down the fast way. Initial Hurdles moves things along, but I find it hard to like. Grade C+, difficulty C. Map 3, Further Infiltration. You're probably starting to notice, but Rowdy Rudy II is much less rough around the edges than the original. Further Infiltration gives you a lot more to sink your teeth into than the early Rudy 1 maps did. The action comes at a steady clip and everything is pleasantly interconnected, packed with secrets and shiny new toys. Also, meet the Mini Mastermind, an adorable, shrunk spider demon with the hit points of an Arachnotron and the pain chance of a chain gunner. You can kill these sad aberrations with concentrated fire from almost any weapon without taking damage and get a free chain gun out of it. Find the rocket launcher to neuter the WAD's first Archvile ambush and the plasma to iron out the rest. Not that you really need it. Further Infiltration might as well be an auto shotgun shooting range. Grade B+, difficulty C-. Map 4, the Hydro Core. The Hydro Core is a dark, stingy downer. 3/4 of the monster count are represented by all 6 classes of zombie, including 10 chain gunners and a dozen plasma guys. The super shotgun gets a lame introduction here, mostly because it's an impractical weapon for dealing with hit scanners which come out in force when you go for the red key. This fight is unexpectedly painful. With its low lighting, restricted supplies, and nervy soundtrack, I think Hydro Core goes against the grain thematically for Rowdy Rudy. Even the damn vending machine doesn't work. The not-so-secret Berserk is an appreciated crumb of mercy going into the incendiary exit. Grade C-, difficulty C+. Map 5, In the Thick of It. No disrespect to the rest of the Rowdy 2 contributors, but I was already starting to miss Doomkid. His maps take the tension out of the shoulders, and sometimes that's exactly what you need. I have a theory that Doomkid designed this map for the number 2 slot originally. It only uses monsters that appear in the opener and doesn't contain a chain gun, rocket launcher, or plasma. In the Thick of It weds old Rudy's aesthetic with new Rudy's weaponry. The toxic pits and grungy MIDI are especially welcome callbacks. I always prefer open fights to skulking around in the dark, and I've come to appreciate the easygoing nature of Doomkid's Rudy 2 submissions. Grade B+, difficulty D+. So Powertrip comes with 2 bonus maps for limit-removing source ports, and since we're 15 maps into the episode, I thought we'd take a break here and discuss them. Map 21, Sinner's Woods. The bonus maps capture Powertrip's combat at its zenith. They represent Rudy 2's post-game, painting with the WAD's visual and gameplay sensibilities on larger canvases. Rowdy Rudy 2 takes some aesthetic cues from the Plutonia experiment, but Sinner's Woods uses Map 26, Bunker, as a direct visual reference. The super shotgun takes center stage here, one of the few times in this WAD that the combat calibration overtly favors it. It's particularly effective against Archviles now that it reloads fast enough to get in 2 blasts between their attacks. Of course, if you're feeling impatient, there's always the direct approach. This is Rowdy Rudy. If you want to punch Archviles, you know Kung Fu. The last arena is a zoo of hit scanners, ground troops, flame cacos, heavy weapon guys, and later an obligatory cyber demon. Sinner's Woods is a strong map that must have only missed out on the regular lineup due to vanilla compatibility issues. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 22, Jungle Assault. Playing the gargantuan, richly detailed jungle assault after finishing Powertrip proper is a bit of a sensory overload. This overgrown UAC base bristles with humanoid enemies and harbors some dark secrets. The rocket launcher and plasma are carefully tucked away, so your assault rifle, chain gun, and super shotgun will get a healthy workout. The demonic rift encounter is the highlight of the map for me. It's ominous and dramatic. Mikey Scoots only implemented one difficulty for this map, but most players should be able to manage. If you're returning to this map after finishing the main campaign, you'll find it an up-tempo shoot-'em-up with plenty of eye candy. Grade A-, difficulty B-. Map 6, Clutched Cargo. Returning to the regular map roster, Clutched Cargo is a chilled-out, shareware, Doom-inspired tech base crowded with hit scanners and crawling with toxic geckos. As you'd expect. The blue key fight is kind of an ass kick, and when you go outside, watch out for the chain gunner outpost on your right. They're packed in there like sardines. I always have a laugh at the expense of the 3 mini masterminds guarding the exit. In greater numbers, they're even less intimidating than usual, flinching under the slightest pressure when they're not shooting their friends in the back. This is the last we'll hear from Doomkid for quite a while, but the mappers he entrusted with Rowdy Rudy II's midsection are a talented bunch, so get psyched. Grade B, difficulty C-. Map 7, Secluded Rifts. Secluded Rifts takes us on a dark detour from the opening notes of its simmering MIDI. This map is a bit tough to get into, your 2 worst enemies being the low lighting and fairly confusing progression. The 2 keys that open the exit require switches to access, and they're a bit out of the way if you don't know what to look for. I always manage to waste a few minutes retracing steps and gawking at the automap in this level. Note that triggering this mandatory ambush permanently lowers this set of stairs, complicating access to the upper deck with a blue key considerably. I recommend grabbing it before the yellow. I enjoy the truck driving revenant, but I'm not sure what this single zombie is doing down here. Sigil reference maybe? Save rockets, find the plasma rifle in the toilet, and you can spray and pray the final fight away. Grade B, difficulty C+. Map 8, Cliffside Punch-Out. Just what the doctor ordered. Cliffside Punch-Out goes full throttle from start to finish, kicking off with a screaming horde of revenants, bloodies, and RPG troopers. All you've got is a rocket launcher, rifle, and a dwindling supply of bullets, so skirt around the mob to the cliff's edge where you can juice up with a dead buddy's berserk pack. He won't be needing it no more. After that foaming frenzy of testosterone and broken bones is over, head to the docks and watch out for hit scanners and homing rockets. I wish I could lean more on the SSG for fights like this, but I just find myself craving the auto shotgun's higher rate of fire more often. Don't forget to have a Coke and a smile and a plasma rifle. It'll make the last leg of the map a lot easier. The penultimate arena kinda reminds me of a room from Quake, E4M6 to be precise, except for the spawns and boars, of course. Ride the adrenaline through this archvile-led ambush, and that's all she wrote. Travie B's Cliffside Punch-Out harnesses the explosive potential of Powertrip's de-hacked monsters and custom hardware better than any map in this set so far. It's a knockout. Grade A, difficulty B-. Map 9, Security Station. The immediate sniper barrage, barbed wire, and impending dusk should tip you off that Security Station isn't messing around. The compound is stuffed with super soldiers, and psycho imps and plasma guys constantly survey the exteriors. Security Station has a handful of fights that can burn you, and I do mean that literally. Grabbing the blue key from one of the sentry towers will initiate a scorching encounter with rocket men, flame cacos, macubi, and an archvile. This dark corridor is a fairly obvious tell for an ambush, but even if you're expecting it, the point-blank bloodies, rocket men, flamethrower guys, and hot-tempered oranges can block your path and barbecue your ass. Don't miss the secret ammo stash, and if you want the secret soul sphere, you'll have to answer the Coca-Cola company. I hope someone in the audience gets that reference. Security Station is quite detailed for a vanilla map. With all those trees, I'm surprised it doesn't exceed the thing limit. The last monster standing between you and the exit is the second goofiest and least intimidating custom monster in the WAD, the Flying Mastermind. Just empty your plasma gun on him and use the crates for cover. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 10, Black Gold. Jesus Christ, what a nightmare. Black Gold is deliberately unpleasant from start to finish. A pitch-dark, stagnant armpit that's as uncomfortable to play as it must be for Rudy to run around ankle-deep in crude oil. All the action is condensed into 2 arenas. The first one gives you a super shotgun and not enough shells to deal with the bloodies, flamethrower guys, and a fruit basket of cacos. It's like DFF is trying to shake your faith in the SSG, undermining its effectiveness with ammo restrictions and flying foes. There's a secret switch in this room that unlocks the first BFG in the WAD, but I passed on it this time because I want to show you how miserable the second half of Black Gold is without it. Take frantic laps to avoid a litany of projectiles aimed your way by plasma guys, RPG guys, revenants, and macubi, then hold on to your butt, because after a short time, 4 archviles will get released into the cavern, and they'll run you down from all angles. A cyber demon shows up too, and I usually leave him alone until I've cleared out everybody else so I can practice my sweet weapon swap combos. There's a pair of light amp goggles stowed in the cave wall here, which I don't really understand. If you're going to subject the player to the artificial discomfort of low lighting, at least commit to your decision. Black Gold is the definition of a slog. Grade D, difficulty A-. Map 11, Ambush. After suffocating through black gold, Ambush is a welcome relief, well lit, stocked with early fodder to give you a head of steam, and grooving to the MIDI version of a very copyrighted track by a band that rhymes with Zed Lepelin. You'd be surprised how easily the troopers blend into the greenery here, even the ones in bright red uniforms. Gameplay-wise, Ambush is aptly named, so watch your step. Save some rockets for the red key fight, which is my favorite in the map, hands down. I call it the fire department fight. 2 archviles and their Baron escorts will storm the main hub when you bring the red key back. They can be troublesome if you let them squirrel away and resurrect stuff. All in all, Ambush is an effective palette cleanser. Oh, a nice scrolling sky, by the way. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 12, Clearing Inventory. At least I've gathered a decent number of weapons along the way, Rudy thinks confidently. Turns out clearing inventory isn't quite as intimidating of a pistol start as the story text would have you believe. Use the storage crates to reach this early plasma gun, go for the soul sphere right next to it, and you'll be ready for anything. Mapmaker Rowdy James Diner has a Skillsaw-esque knack for crafting blockbuster fights that look more overwhelming than they really are. The chaotic blue switch ambush, this teleporting hit scanner massacre by the toxic river, the flying mastermind-led graveyard shift outside, and most notably, this daunting freight elevator ride with a cyber demon, revenants, and an archvile. All of these fights feel like hitting 3-pointers when you finish them. The demonic boardroom meeting and the powwow in the men's room give the map a light finish of humor, and AD-79's catchy-as-hell MIDI cacophony of Asian donut shops seals the deal on one of Rudy II's banner levels. Rowdy James Diner is a mapper to watch. Grade A, difficulty B+. Map 13, Mutagen Plant. A handsome tech base that opens into a craggy outdoor slugfest, Mutagen Plant keeps the ball rolling thanks to Mustachio's ripping good combat. Activating the red switch brings down hell on top of you, but you can stem the tide with his charitable invulnerability. The midsection flags a bit energy-wise due to an excess of what I hereby dub monster window dressing, a term I use to describe the practice of placing monsters as decorations, usually on cliffsides or other unreachable positions. The yellow key fight at the end is a barn burner. 2 archviles and a gushing teleport parade of flamethrowers, revenants, rocketmen, and flame cacos. Luckily, it's quite cheesable. You can bottleneck everything in the tunnel if you get away quick enough, and there's even a megasphere here if you need it. If you're wondering why I have so many rockets, I inadvertently forgot the rocket launcher in my eagerness to take on the first big ambush, and ultimately I didn't really need it. Hard sequels month paying off, I guess. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 14, Rumble in the Canyon. It's about time we got a genuine power trip. In its first 2 minutes, Rumble in the Canyon lets you take the WAD's first non-secret BFG for a spin, sicking you with a pair of cyber demons and a pack of bloodies and revenants. Then, 3 archviles will stop and frisk you on your way to the canyon. Deal with them before you proceed because the endlessly replenishing revenant snipers, zombie troopers, mancubi, and flame cacos can be awkward to juggle. There's a 3rd cyber in the toxic ravine at the end. He's given cover fire by perched mancubi and some revenants who end up pulling double duty when you grab the red key and the archviles arrive. Rumble in the Canyon is brisk and brawny. The amount of firepower you get often exceeds your need for it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 15, Jungle Hijinks. Though it lacks the popcorn appeal of Travie B and RJD's work, Jungle Hijinks is probably the most impressive map in Rowdy Rudy II from a combat design perspective. There's enough material in the very first room to teach a seminar on enemy placement. Going for the much-needed super shotgun pins you between a flood of bloodies and a gang of imps, psychos, and an archvile, all while mancubi, plasma guys, and hit scanners use you for target practice. Thankfully, Aurelius gives you a soul sphere in recompense if you stop to use Satan's toilet. Draped in vines and overlaid with shadows, the jungle proper is one of the most visually impressive areas in the WAD, and also home to some more broiling archvile action. Don't waste any ammo on the cyber demon turret, you can telefrag him and also get a megasphere if you haven't already. This last area is a grueling and messy affair involving virtually every monster type in the WAD somehow, going out on a double cyber demon and archvile ambush that's absolutely vicious, even with a megasphere and BFG. I can't say I love this map, it's a little cruel for my liking, but Aurelius is obviously an expert craftsman and I respect his work. Grade B+, difficulty A. Map 16, Grim Sector. Rowdy Rudy II coalesces so well that it's easy to forget it's a community project sometimes, especially during a stellar run of maps like 11 to 15. I'm sorry to say that hot streak dies with Grim Sector, a thinly populated, anonymous-looking tech base turned dead-end caving expedition. The pyrotechnical work of Mustachio, Aurelius, Travie B, and RJD is understandably hard to follow, but Grim Sector doesn't make much of an effort to justify its place in the 16th slot. Aside from this cheapo cyber demon square-off, I hardly broke a sweat here. Doom Dude's E1M3 riffage unfortunately proves more memorable than his original designs, and the Slough of Despair-esque second half is monotonous and unnecessarily confusing. I gave Grim Sector 3 playthroughs, but it never managed to win me over. Grade D, difficulty C+. Map 17, Plutonic Relations. Doomkid's compact and feisty encore brings Rudy II's Plutonia influence to its natural conclusion, serving up copious revenants, chain gunners, and a couple of stinging archviles against a backdrop of familiar textures. This map shows a lot of love for the flying mastermind, more than the rest of the WoD combined actually. There's one in this room which you can easily distract and dismantle with infighting, and two of them lurking in this drainage pit at the end. Just don't fall in and you win. From the adjacent room they can be easily stun-locked and destroyed with your automatic weapons. If you want to make this fight even quicker, there's a secret BFG behind a wall marked by a pair of green torches. Doomkid's Plutonia send-up is innocently entertaining. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 18, Drowning Pits. Here's a map I really wanted to like. The running of the Barons at the start is creative, suspenseful, and deadly, but the map runs out of ideas in a hurry after that. Drowning Pits doubles down on crampage, darkness, and mazy spelunking, none of which are terribly good looks for Rowdy Rudy. Once again, I don't know what earned this map such a late slot. I had to manufacture some excitement for myself in the middle here by punching out 2 Mancubi and a Revenant. To save future players some confusion, when you hit this switch, return to the Psycho Imp Cave to find that the water level has risen. From there, you can make like Jesus across the muddy water and clear the final room. Grade B-, difficulty B. Map 19, Cyber Factory. A rare breed of penultimate map, Cyber Factory is short and stripped down to the essentials. It's got the same setup as Speed of Doom Map 31, rocket launcher, plasma rifle, and a cyborg-only enemy roster. Well, almost. Cyber Factory is a requiem for the mini-mastermind. These poor idiots are so hell-bent on killing each other they can hardly bother the Mancubi they seem intended to infight. So long, suckers. Don't let yourself get hemmed into the plasma rifle room at the end and the last fight goes down easy. Cyber Factory propels you into Map 20 refreshed and ready to go. Grade B, difficulty B-. Map 20, Death God's Shrine. What a shame. With that army of imps at the start and Master of Puppets thundering in the background, I thought Powertrip would go out in a blaze of guts and glory. But unfortunately, Death God's Shrine just doesn't stick the landing. Problem number 1, there's no BFG in this map on any skill level, and if you're going for all the kills, ammo's gonna get pretty tight. To that, I say, come on, man! This is Rowdy Rudy, not Resident Evil. Problem number 2, the map is flat and underlit, making everything look blurry and samey. Problem number 3, out of nearly 500 monsters, only 24 are Rowdy II exclusive, with Revenants and Imps alone accounting for 90% of the horde. Opening fight, Revenants and Imps. Wonder what's behind this door? Oh, Revenants and Imps. The plasma rifle room is one of the most diverse fights in the map, adding annoying oranges and rocket men to the mishmash of Revenants and Imps. And the final fight is yet another monsoon of Revenants and Imps. I don't think I've ever had a reason to complain about homogeneity of enemy placement in Doom before, but it's impossible to ignore here. These fights all feel exactly the same, a sensation made worse by the near non-existence of ammunition other than rockets. Darkmaster rejects Rowdy Rudy II's varied bestiary, deprives the player of weapon choice for the most part, chokes the ammo supply, and has the gall to end the whole WoD on a flip switch. No explosions, no final boss, just moaning camels and broken bones. Very, very disappointing. Grade D, difficulty A-. So, if Rowdy Rudy's Revenge is a love child of D-Hacked in the 90s, Rowdy Rudy II Powertrip is a franchise reboot, complete with better effects, more explosions, and a reluctant action hero making far too much money. The newer of the two is uneven, but inarguably more exciting. The new weapons are fresh and fun to use, particularly the auto shotgun and assault rifle, which render Rudy one of the most deadly pistol-starting Doom guys ever. Make no mistake, these WoDs will be hard to digest for purists. Even I sometimes tire of taking 64 damage from Cacodemon fireballs and having to pump twice as much lead into zombie men. The good news is the Rudy WoDs will always be there when you need a break from regular classic Doom. I appreciate Rudy 1 as the niche passion project that it is, and applaud Doomkid for wrangling Rudy 2 into one of the most consistent, enjoyable, and idiosyncratic community projects I've ever played. Both are worthy additions to anyone's WoD library. My final grade for Rowdy Rudy's Revenge is a B- with a C for difficulty, somewhat easier and less impactful than Sigil for comparison. My final grade for Rowdy Rudy II Powertrip is a B+, and difficulty-wise it'll get a B-, comparable to the Plutonia experiment in terms of challenge and entertainment value. Now for my Dean's List, first for Rowdy Rudy's Revenge. Valedictorian, Map 8, Creeping Descent. Salutatorian, Map 5, Forgotten Installation. Class President, Map 9, Hell's Doorstep, and the dunce cap goes to Map 9, Hell's Doorstep. The Dean's List for Rowdy Rudy II Powertrip is as follows. Valedictorian, Map 12, Clearing Inventory. Salutatorian, Map 8, Cliffside Punch-Out. Class President, Map 15, Jungle Hijinks, and the dunce cap goes to Map 16, Grim Sector. There will be a short honor roll for Rowdy Rudy II. It's comprised of Map 1, Storming the Bayside Base, Map 13, Mutagen Plant, Map 14, Rumble in the Canyon, Map 21, Sinner's Woods, and Map 22, Jungle Assault. Thank you all very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts on the WADs down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous and patient patrons. A.R., Aaron Allen, Aaron Berger, Akalai, Alec Wehrman, Alexander Simonkoff, Alex Topfer, Alex Max, Alpha Skeeter, Ari Adair, Builder Sith, Kappa Bitch, Cheese Wheel, Chris Duthat, Chris O'Neill, Christopher Hart, Christophine Place, Kiara P, Crafty One Cal, Dan, Delirium, Doom for Dummies, Dorothy Miller, Egg Boy, Ember, Emma Essex, Enraged Eggplant, Felix Wilson, Final Brett, Furnace, Gabagool, Garu Dave, General Roasterock, Glenn Marmon, Griffin Upchurch, Gus Shade, Holy Hell Revealed When, In Captivity, Jared C. Bly, Jesse Taylor, Josh Ballard, Just Great 98, Camille Bernadotte, Killplane, Leon Staten, Logan Lazalda, Mark Rowland, Marky Music, Master Drew 117, Matt, Matthew Gower, Michael Gutierrez, Mixer, MK 2021, Mr. Bob Cyndaquil, Myolden, Neurometry, Nick Machado, Knights 108, Number 26, One True Purple, Orion Burke Poole, Painful Hill 72, Procrastination, Pyro She, Randy A, Roadworks, Rune, Sega Monkey, Shakes 999, Sid Menon, Spinner 8, Stonemason, Stupid Nick, Swag, I almost said it, Tarakushino, The Bell Tolls, TJG 1289, Tropy Trillion, Turbine 2K5, and Why Bimo Not a Crab. Thank you. I appreciate you all very much. This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Dean of Doom.